Yeah, just give me 10 seconds. Okay, we're live.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. O Lord, show us the good as good and help us to stay with it, and show us falsehood as falsehood, and help us to stay away from it with your mercy, O merciful one. وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Inshallah, everyone is doing well, and happy Saturday. We intend on continuing, actually starting the 7th word today. So the 7th word is on page 41, and it's also on the screen. So let's do this. Before we do that, I know it's a small, tight-knit group. Is there anyone who would want to volunteer to read for us, just for a change of voice? No pressure. Okay, inshallah, no problem. And let's get started. Bismillah, the 7th word.
Okay, I'll read. If you want to understand what valuable, difficulty-resolving talismans are the two parts of the phrase, I believe in God and the last day. So the phrase, I believe in God and the last day, which solve both the enigmatical riddle of creation and open the door of happiness for the human spirit. And what beneficial and curative medicines are reliance on your Creator and taking refuge in Him through patience and entreaty, and supplicating to your provider through thanks. And what important, precious, shining tickets for the journey to eternity, and provisions for the hereafter, and lights for the grave are listening to the Qur'an, obeying to its commands, performing the prescribed prayers, and giving up serious sins. Then listen and pay attention to this comparison. One time, a soldier fell into a most grave situation in the field of battle and examination, and the round of profit and loss. It was as follows. Can we go below the text, please? It was as follows, and I don't see anything below. Thank you. The soldier was wounded with 2 deep and terrible wounds on his right and left sides, and behind him stood a huge lion as though waiting to attack him. So the soldier was wounded with 2 deep and terrible wounds on his right and left sides, and behind him stood a huge lion as though waiting to attack him. Before him stood a gallows, which was putting to death and annihilating all those he loved. It was awaiting him too. Besides this, he had a long journey before him. So the soldier was being exiled. As the unfortunate soldier pondered over his fearsome plight in despair, a kindly person, shining with light like Khidr, appeared. He said to him, "Do not despair. I shall give you 2 talismans and teach you what they are. If you use them properly, the lion will become like a docile horse for you, and the gallows will turn into a swing for your pleasure and enjoyment. Also, I shall give you 2 medicines. If you follow the instructions, those 2 suppurating wounds will be transformed into 2 sweet-scented flowers called the Rose of Muhammad, peace be upon him. Also, I shall give you a ticket. With it, you will be able to make a year's journey in a day as though flying. If you do not believe me, experiment a bit so that you can see that it is true. The soldier did experiment a bit and affirmed that it was true. Yes, I, that is this unfortunate Said, the author of this text, affirm it too, for I experimented and saw it was absolutely true. So should we continue reading?
Yes.
Okay. So sometime later, he saw a sly, debauched-looking man, cunning as the devil, coming from the left, bringing with him much ornamented finery.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right. Sometime later, he saw a sly, debauched-looking man, cunning as the devil, coming from the left, bringing with him much ornamented finery, decorated pictures and fantasies, and many intoxicants. He stopped before the soldier and said, "Hey, come on, my friend. Let's go and drink and make merry. We can look at these pictures of beautiful girls, listen to the music, and eat this tasty food." Then he asked him, "What is it you are reciting under your breath?" "A talisman," came the reply. "Stop that incomprehensible nonsense. Let's not spoil our present fun." And he asked a second question. "What is that you have in your hand?" "Some medicine," the soldier replied. "Throw it away. You are healthy. There is nothing wrong with you. It is the time of cheer." And he asked, "What is that piece of paper with 5 marks on it?" "It is a ticket and a rations card." "Oh, tear them up." The man said, "What need do we have of a journey this beautiful spring?" He tried to persuade him with every sort of wile, and the poor soldier was even a bit persuaded. Yes, man can be deceived. I was deceived by just such cunning deceptions.
Suddenly, from the right came a voice like thunder. "Beware," it said. "Do not be deceived. Say to that trickster, if you have the means to kill the lion behind me, remove the gallows from before me. Repulse the things wounding my right and my left, and prevent the journey in front of me. Then come on and do so. Show that you can and let us see it. Then say, come on, let's go and enjoy ourselves. Otherwise, be silent. Speak in the same way as that Khidr-like God-inspired man. O my soul, which laughed in its youth and now weeps at its laughter, know that the unfortunate soldier is you and man. The lion is the appointed hour. As for the gallows, it is death, decline, and separation, through which, in the alternation of night and day, all friends bid farewell and are lost. Of the two wounds, one is man's infinite and troublesome impotence, while the other is his grievous and boundless poverty. The exile journey is the long journey of examination which passes from the world of spirits through the womb and childhood to old age. The exile journey is the long journey of examination which passes from the world of spirits through the womb and childhood to old age, through the world and the grave and the intermediate realm to the resurrection and the bridge of Sirat. As for the two talismans, they are belief in Almighty God and the hereafter. Yes, through the second sacred talisman, death takes on the form of a mastered horse, a steed to take believing man from the prison of this world to the gardens of paradise and the presence of the most merciful one. Death takes on the form of a mastered horse, a steed to take believing man from the prison of this world to the gardens of paradise and the presence of the most merciful one. It is because of this that the wise who has seen death's reality have loved it. The wise who have seen death's reality have loved it. They have wanted it before it came. And through the talisman of belief in God, the passage of time, which is decline and separation, death and disease and the gallows, takes on the form of the means to observe and contemplate with perfect pleasure the miracles of the all-glorious Maker's various, multicolored, ever-renewed embroideries, the wonders of his power, and the manifestations of his mercy. Yes, when mirrors reflecting the colors of the sun's light are changed and renewed, and the images of the cinema changed, better, more beautiful scenes are formed. As for the two medicines, one is trusting in God and patience, and the other is relying on the power of one's Creator and having confidence in His wisdom. Is that the case? Indeed it is. What fear can a man have who, through the certificate of his impotence, relies on a monarch of the world with the power to command? Be, and it is. Kun fayakun, which is from Qur'an, chapter 2, verse number 117. For in the face of the worst calamity, he says, verily to God do we belong, and verily to him is our return. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, which is from Quran chapter 2, verse number 156. And places his trust in his most compassionate sustainer. A person with knowledge of God takes pleasure from impotence, from fear of God. A person with knowledge of God takes pleasure from impotence, from fear of God, or acknowledgement of God. Yes, there is pleasure in fear and acknowledgement. If a 12-month baby were sufficiently intelligent to be asked, what is most pleasurable and sweetest for you? he might well say, to realize my powerlessness and helplessness, and fearing and acknowledging my mother's gentle smack, to, at the same time, take refuge in her tender breast. But the compassion of all mothers is but a flash of the manifestation of divine mercy. But the compassion of all mothers is but a flash of the manifestation of divine mercy. It is for this reason that the wise have found such pleasure in impotence and fear in acknowledgement of God, vehemently declaring themselves to be free of any strength and power, and have taken refuge in God through their through their powerlessness. They have made powerlessness and fear an intercessor for themselves. They have made powerlessness and fear and acknowledgement an intercessor for themselves. The second medicine is thanks and contentment, and entreaty and supplication, and relying on the mercy of the all-compassionate provider. Is that so? Yes. For how can poverty, want, and need be painful and burdensome for a guest of an all-generous and munificent one, who makes the whole face of the earth a table of bounties, and the spring a bunch of flowers, and who places the flowers on the table and scatters them over it? Poverty and need take on the form of a pleasant appetite. The guest tries to increase his poverty in the same way he does his appetite. It is because of this that the wise have taken pride in want and poverty. The wise has taken pride in want and poverty. But beware, do not misunderstand this. It means to be aware of one's poverty before God and to beseech Him, not to parade poverty before the people and assume the air of a beggar.
Okay, as for the ticket and voucher, it is to perform the religious duties and foremost the prescribed prayers, and to give up serious sins. Is that so? Yes, it is, for according to the consensus of those who observe and have knowledge of the unseen, and those who uncover the mysteries of creation, the provisions, light, and steed for the long, dark road to post-eternity may only be obtained through complying with the commands of the Qur'an and avoiding what the Qur'an prohibits. Science, philosophy, and art are worth nothing on that road. Science, philosophy, and art are worth nothing on that road. Their light reaches only as far as the door of the grave. O my lazy soul, how little and light and easy it is to perform the 5 daily prayers and give up the 7 deadly sins. If you have the faculty of reason and it is not corrupted, understand how important and extensive are their results, fruits, and benefits. Say to the devil and that man who were encouraging you to indulge in vice and dissipation, if you have the means to kill death and cause decline and transience to disappear from the world, and remove poverty and impotence from man, and close the door of the grave, then tell us what it is and let us hear it. Otherwise, be silent. The Qur'an reads the universe in the vast mosque of creation. Let us listen to it. Let us be illuminated with that light. Let us act according to its guidance, and let us recite it constantly. Yes, the Qur'an is the word, That is what they say of it. It is the Qur'an which is the truth and comes from the truth and says the truth and shows the truth and spreads luminous wisdom. O God, illuminate our hearts with the light of belief and the Qur'an. O God, enrich us with the need of you and do not impoverish us with the lack of need of you. Make us free of our own strength and power and cause us to take refuge in your strength and power. Appoint us among those who place their trust in you and do not entrust us to ourselves. Protect us with your protection. Have mercy on us and have mercy on all believing men and women, and grant blessings and peace to our Master Muhammad, your servant and prophet, your friend and beloved, the beauty of your dominion and the sovereign of your art, the essence of your favor and the sun of your guidance. The essence of your favor and the sun of your guidance. The tongue of your proof and the exemplar of your mercy. The tongue of your proof and the exemplar of your mercy. The light of your creation and the glory of your creatures. The lamp of your unity in the multiplicity of your creatures and the discloser of the talisman of your beings. The herald of the sovereignty of your dominicality and the announcer of those things pleasing to you. The proclaimer of the treasuries of your names and the proclaimer of the treasure of your name and the instructor of your servants. The proclaimer of the treasuries of your names and the instructor of your servants or worshippers. The interpreter of your signs, the interpreter of your signs and the mirror of the beauty of your dominicality. The means of witnessing you and bearing witness to you, your beloved and your messenger, whom you sent as a mercy to all the worlds, and to all his family and companions, and to his brothers among the prophets and messengers, and to your angels, and to the righteous among your servants. Ameen, amen.
Jazakallah khair. And this concludes the 7th word. Thanks for sharing it on the reading. Very interesting read. Just, I'm going to open up the floor and just to see if anyone has any immediate comments or something that comes to you, just your immediate impressions, just, listening to the 7th word. There's a lot in here. And go ahead, yes.
Yeah, I found it very interesting how this journey is going on with the, started from the first word, which was about seeing Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, seeing everything coming from an absolute source. Like when you look at the universe, you observe it and what that entails, that everything is just bringing the news, that it just does not exist by itself, it's not created by itself, or their creation is not futile or meaningless, but there is a purpose. And then we built upon, believing in the unseen, because we kind of tried to understand what unseen meant. Basically, based on the act that we see in creation, we understand that they just are not there for their own purpose. They seem, they tell me there's a meaningful, conscious will behind that, is what I observe in the universe, in my own being. I wonder, I question sometimes, why am I here? What am I doing here? What is my purpose in life? And we kind of tried to, fill in basically how do we sell our property. Last few sessions we discussed that in terms of, by looking at everything around us, by looking at our own selves as a human, the feelings that we have, the desires we have, the tools and senses, feelings that we have, which we spoke about, that we are not just physical bodies, but we are a spirit, human beings. And what does that mean? Being aware of what we are doing, we have that consciousness within us as well, right? And then we have this free will that is given to us to choose one versus the other, go this way or the other way. So we are made in a very dynamic kind of way, and nobody can say, I got this myself. Every human being can wonder where all this, what this creation, including their own creation, what it means. So in this topic, it's interesting how the story or the parable that is being shared, again, the soldier analogy is something that gives a structure, or something that there's a purpose in what the soldier is not existing on its own, but the soldier belongs to part of the army and has a commander. There is somebody who is taking care of that soldier. So it just fits into how the human structured organization, that human beings are here not by themselves. They don't exist on their own independently, but they are supposed to have that discipline and that responsibility, just like a soldier has towards his superior general, or to the authority that he reports to. So whoever is my owner, my authority, I have to be responsible of whatever my purpose here in this world is, to go and fulfill that purpose. And now we're here in this month of October. We see that there's a new season that is coming, fall season, that we're experiencing. It signifies, it brings certain senses, certain feelings to me as an individual. I'm starting to see the colors change, and the crispness in the air. You start to feel that it becomes certain times. You feel that little coolness, and the sun kind of gets hidden away in the behind the clouds. They're all it's a cycle, as you see, like we just experienced, for example, the spring, where everything was just coming around about, and everything was refreshed. All kind of plants, vegetation, fruit, everything was just blooming and booming. Blossoming, thank you. So now, and then we went into summer, everything was good, and now we're coming into the fall season, and things are starting to wind down. And then in winter, you would see that all those dried leaves, things will die, and then till there's a whole recycling kind of process that happens. So this is, I imagine myself, so okay, I came in that spring season, and now I'm here in this fall. So there is something, and these are examples for us, just like we can imagine this and take this, our journey in life, where now the things are changing. And this is the situation, at least in the parable, where somebody is waking up and realizing, hey, I'm wounded here, because on my right and my left there's a it's a metaphoric, or it's a a teaching that is in that parable, as we kind of read. And now behind me, something scary, a lion, and then in front of me is basically death that is there. The grave is there. Everybody knows that this is how, just like the universe shows, and the experience and the observation shows, that there is an end to this life in this world. So this life is not the permanent place for us.
Mm.
So this is what's going on, and then this is what puts the human being into a dilemma, because it's not easily acceptable that all this decline and the winter season, and where every plant and every tree is kind of facing decay and death, and the human life starts going into decay and then death as well. So this is the the strong contradiction within human, where the feeling of the human is trying to make sense of this, what's going on. Why am I here if I am going to just decay and die? I mean, there's no denying, we can, if you look into our own beings, we cannot keep our lives forever. We cannot even give our life for a second. So what does a man do in this situation? This is how the soldier who is in this predicament and realizes, okay, what's going on here? Is there any way out? So I have to look for a way out. And the guidance kind of comes, which is like, the author says, either like light or somebody who is a means of guidance. And that's where the prophetic message, as the prayer at the end concluded, how important it is for the human to be guided, rightfully guided, because the soldier needs the orders to do whatever he needs to do. So the human being, whoever made the human being, must guide this human being to show him, hey, this is existence you are going through is something meaningful for a purpose, and it's not, don't be despaired. Otherwise it's, if there is no way out, then this is total despair for a human being. What does one do if this is happening to the human being? So now the light that that the guidance that one is looking for is what is being offered. And we can go over.
Yeah. Jazakallah khair, beautiful takeaways. I think it does summarize pretty much the seventh word, and I think you're right in terms of how the author is putting a strong emphasis on the purpose of the human journey here. And it was also good that you connected it back to all the previous reflections, the first word up until now we've been reading, because the first thing is to recognize that things are not acting on their own, and I'm not just a result of randomness. And from there on, then one in his journey takes one step further in terms of, okay, so I'm given all these tools and this universe to interact with, like, what do I do with it? And then there is a very obvious display of creation being renewed, blossoming, blooming, and now things are decaying. It's just going away, and it just makes you question, what is it? Is that it to this experience? And I really think that the way the author is presenting this case, also, like you said, I'm just summarizing basically your takeaways with the parable, is just helping us also check in our case in terms of, yes, we do get pained by separation, experiencing new things. Spring and summer, it's all like prime youth, it's all jolly and everybody's joyful. But when we start experiencing separation, decay, death, then that's not it is a feeling that's imparted, but that feeling doesn't sit well with the human being. That's where it's like a call to us in terms of checking in our case that, yeah, I do not like this pain of separation, but I'm experiencing it here. And so what's up? What's the deal? Like, what am I to do with all this? And you know, what's interesting is also the two verses that were highlighted. Kun fayakun, be it and it is. And verily to God do we belong, and verily to him is our return. And then the line when I think this is just every moment we're experiencing all of it, but like the be and it is most prominent during springtime, summer, prime youth. You're like, oh wow, this is coming into existence. And also like when things starts decaying, like the fall season right now, then even that's also questionable. You're like, okay, wow, so now this is a different type of existence. You know, just how everything is just transient and going away. And so, you know, then the human spirit looks for a one to besiege, as in the source of its existence, as in terms of the one that brings me into existence is taking me on this journey, and it seems that everything is returning back to him, because when I do the assessment within myself, I cannot attribute whatever I see, the changes I see, this dynamic creation, I cannot attribute it to myself or to anything of this universe. And so the logical conclusion really points it back to the one that brings it into existence. So that's very interesting how these two verses are so correlated and interrelated, and helps us sort of, you know, expand more on this human journey that we are experiencing. And just going to pause here and check in to see if anyone else wants to just, you know, maybe share out any immediate impressions or takeaway before we delve into some, you know, main points of discussion here. So just skim through it. Okay, just at any time, you know, if you want to say something, feel free to put it on the chat. And so we can, yeah, this is an interesting phrase. I believe in God and the last day. Do you want to elaborate a little more on that? Like, what do we, it's like so we're on page 41. Okay, I guess so we can go back.
To the first paragraph?
Yeah, to the first paragraph of the seventh word.
So how the introduction starts in terms of, if you want to believe.
There's a hand up.
In the last day.
Okay, Doc.
Yeah, brother.
Brother Ali, go ahead, please.
No, thank you. Just I wanted to start off the interactive discussion. Now, I just to notice that some interesting points attracted my attention when we read the whole text. It was beautiful to read the whole text so that we will have the whole picture in our mind, what's going on, because it is just a way of telling the truth through parables. So one of them is, one of the points attracted my attention was, we cannot separate belief in God from belief in the hereafter, or just other way around. We cannot separate belief in the hereafter from God. It means they necessitate each other. If this universe and I, as a person, are created by an absolute being, then my existence cannot be restricted to this world alone, because my human feelings cannot really, how do you say, be satisfied with the life conditions of this world. I want definitely eternity, and I want everything to be perfect. All these feelings are given to me. So only the one who creates me with these feelings must provide the eternal life. Since I have some senses, I am going from the other direction now, from belief in the hereafter and necessity of the existence of the absolute being. Since I have this never-ending desire for existence, life, enjoyment, etc., and the universe is just dumb, silent to my desire, and just gives me the news that you are going to die. And the universe, yes, gives me some message in its existence, but that everything is wonderful, they cannot exist by themselves. There must be an absolute being who's taking care of everything and the creation and life, etc. But in physical terms, I don't experience this in physical terms. I have the need for it, but I have I don't have opportunity to experience it in this world physically, because the universe only can treat me in physical terms. Meaning I have to get it through my spirit, but what I get the meaning through my spirit cannot be realized within this world. So I feel that if I have these feelings, so the source of my existence must provide an answer to these feelings, these expectations, these needs. Who can do it? The universe cannot. So there must be something that will provide it for me. That is why both of them correspond to each other. Believe in God and believe in the hereafter necessitates each other. That is what the subject started with, this, I believe in God and the last day together. Of course, this phrase is taken from the Qur'an, and Qur'an repeats this expression or this phrase, believe in God and the hereafter, on many occasions, because they cannot be separated. And at the very end, also belief in God is associated with, I'm taking note as well, I'm believing God associated with belief in the prophethood, messengership. That is another point, another subject that we have to deal with, maybe separately. Okay, the second point attracted my attention was sometimes later here, let me put this one back. So see here, sometimes later, he saw a sly, debauched looking man, cunning as the devil, coming from the left, bringing with him much ornamented finery, decorated pictures, fantasies, and many intoxicants, etc. That shows also that everybody is given two options in this world. So we cannot avoid it. We cannot stop it. It will come. The option will definitely appear in front of us. So we have to be careful about this reality. No one can say that, I believe in God, so everything will go right and I always do everything right. No, we have to be extremely careful about what? Yes, we believe in God. Okay, that is beautiful, and that is true too. But we are always presented another option about our practical daily life to choose between two options. So we have to really watch out for this always. The third point, which I marked here as something interesting, yes, men, let me see, yeah, yes, men can be deceived. I was deceived by just such cunning deceptions. Ah, that means it is our reality. Even the author himself says, look, I experienced this as well. So this deception, look at choosing the wrong option. No one is immune from choosing the wrong option. Depends on the degree of choosing the wrong option. For example, in my whole life, I think most of you are in the same position. That's why it is not a subject of being proud. So I never drank alcohol. It's quite normal. It is mixed with the culture and also religious belief that
Oh, we can't hear you. Is it just me, or you guys don't hear?
in the subject of drinking alcohol or going to the casino and gambling, etc., or killing a man and a person. This matter is not that clear cut, but the deception comes in our understanding, worries. You know that, we all know that, I'm sure you also experience that, when everything goes well, as we expect it to happen, now we have no problem. But the real life experience shows up when something goes wrong according to our expectations. So the friendships work fine when everything is favorable for us. But the real friendship shows itself when the matter turns into a conflict, especially the conflict of interest. So two people always say, oh, we are good friends and we can do everything together, etc. When the conflict happens, conflict of interest happens, the real aspect of our character shows up. Now, deception is the same thing. Usually when the things don't appear to be as we expect them to be, then we are now in a very fragile position, because we may start criticizing it without forgetting that it is created by my creator in order to provide me with an opportunity to get to know him better. But we forget that. To get to know my position better, but we forget that. That is why we have to be very careful, on alert, when something goes wrong, then, or something exceptional happens to us, then we have to check ourselves whether if I am successful whether I will attribute this success to myself or to God's grace provided for me. If I suffer from something, some sort of calamity, unwanted creation, whatever they are, whether I turn my black face to the Creator and demonstrate that I'm not happy with Him. That is what we have to be very careful about. This is the third point attracted my attention. The fifth point was quite interesting to me. Now, some people, let's say this one, some people have made powerlessness and fear an intercessor for themselves. That's quite interesting. I found it extremely interesting. What does it mean? Are we going to give up our self-confidence? Always feel powerless and always have a fear so that God will love us? Especially there was a special in the text reminding that you should not demonstrate your powerlessness and your fear to the people of this kind of negativity, to the people, created people, but this position needs to be taken before God. If we realize that the universe is created by an absolute being, or must be created by an absolute being, as compared to absolute being, I am totally powerless. I have nothing to claim, to own it. Everything is given to me. This is really true. From my first day of birth into this world, everything is given to me. Oh, later on, I start developing a sense of ownership, because when I use my free will and receive some result as a result of my actions by using my free will, I start to develop the sense of that is the result of my choice. So my choice has given existence to this result. So my choice is the cause and the result is the effect. That is a very fragile point that I find myself very sensitive about, because when I do something, definitely I have an immediate inclination towards claiming that this is the result of my action. I do that. I confess. Well, I'm not ashamed of confessing this, because knowing at the same time that it is not only my weak point. Most of the people experience this. So this is the common point, the common, interesting, fragile, if you like, stage in our life. We develop it as we do something. It means we are using our free will, and the result is created, but because of this correlation between my choice and the creation of the result, cause and effect, they call it. So I start associating the result with my choice. And if we don't really polish up our belief in God continuously, we start developing a sense of ownership, saying that this is the result of my choice or my actions. That is why it must be always remembered by anyone that we are powerless. We cannot create anything. We just ask. And also fear. Fear means not necessarily fearing God, but I may always fall into a mistake or mistaken understanding. I may always fall into a mistaken understanding of my reality. That is why we have to be alarmed that I may always forget about the reality and fall into a wrong interpretation of the things, understanding of the things, maybe wrong evaluation of my own reality. So these two things are always to be borne in mind, that I am powerless. I cannot guarantee my future about that I'm going to be always in the best way. Though in the good way, I am going to choose always the best way. So if one realizes his powerlessness, if one realizes that he cannot guarantee anything for his future, not necessarily after that, that is discussed by our friends. So now, keeping the awareness of my reality is the point of fear. Keeping my position before my Creator alive. He is the owner. I am the one who is absolutely in need of Him, in my existence, in everything. So these are the only intercessors for us. It means always, if we really keep them alive in our minds, in our feelings, that is the only way to protect us from falling into mistakes. Now, the last point needs a special attention. That was, it is interesting. There is a long session here, this one, long session, talking about the function of the prophet. It means actually belief in God necessitates belief in the hereafter. Belief in God and the hereafter necessitates belief in the messengership. And I cannot go into this. It needs maybe a special study, a special session to discuss this matter, as I highlighted. So just to remember that they are related: believe in God, believe in the hereafter, and believe in the messengership, work together hand in hand and necessitate each other. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Ali, for sharing your comments and pointers and reflections as well. So yeah, I mean, if we look into that first paragraph, my friend and I were also looking into that statement in the second sentence. It says, "I believe in God and the last day." So it's you cannot separate one from the other. It's like a chain, you know. It's all together. Believe in God and the last day, and so I think we all need to reflect more on this. How do we understand, or how do we confirm within ourselves this belief in the last day as well? Once I conclude that yes, the universe must have a maker, and so then I extend it out to there must be an eternal existence, and also the point about belief in God also being related to belief in prophethood, which is also connected to believe in the hereafter. So all these confirmation happening within one's human side, they help us, they help the spirit to attain existential peace and security that we are seeking. So this also, when one is able to conclude the universe must have a creator, then in this quest for search for the truth, one also seeks guidance, and then guidance coming in human form, employed by the creator of the universe to help us solve this riddle of the human journey here, where things are transient, passing, and my human spirit desires everything to be eternal. So how do I execute all of that in this human journey? And so obviously resources in form of prophethood are available to us, and we need to listen. We need to take heed of that message as well, which really resonates with my human spirit. And so, yeah, I mean, all of this is intertwined: belief in God, believe in prophethood, and believe in the hereafter. Because what message does the messenger of the speech of the creator of the universe brings? It really brings us that there must be an eternal source of existence to everything that we are experiencing. So I think these were the main highlight here, and the rest really speaks to our choices in terms of what makes me a human being is really my free will, because I'm making choices every day, every hour, every week, and so on. And it's also a matter of really reflecting more on the nature of the choice and how the result is created, because I just choose, and the rest is being done onto me, or the rest is being brought into existence. So I don't create the result, but my choice definitely come with consequences. It's very obvious. It's just like we use the analogy always: if you study for your test at school, then obviously the consequence of it will be seen in how you score on the exam. Similarly, if you let's say you need to apply for a job, you follow the order in creation, you prep up for the interviews, you send out your resumes here and there, and then the consequence of it is created as well. So I think we can all apply this practically to our personal lives, but the catch here is to be aware and conscious that I do not create the result. I'm just choosing to follow what is out there. And, you know, the emphasis on my powerlessness as a human being and how we are very needy and weak and want, I think this is this should be worked to our advantage as far as how the author is presenting the case. Yes, I recognize that the human being is a very needy individual. Yes, I recognize the human being is really powerless in terms of I'm just choosing, I don't create the result. And also I'm in need of guidance every moment, every stage and age. And while I'm here, given existence, going in this human journey, then I'm always in need of guidance. I'm really powerless in that sense. And I think what you emphasized as well about powerlessness in terms of also, you know, I will make mistake. And so And so I'm so I just need to recognize that this is that's what the nature of the human being is. And so recognizing that this is how I'm made, but I'm in need of someone to provide me with guidance in terms of keeping me in check with my human reality, that I'm transient as far as my body is concerned here, but my human desires extend to eternity, and that cannot be actualized in this universe, but I can make sense of it within my spirit in terms of grasping the whole nature of the human journey here. So that's just some brief takeaway from what Brother Lee shared, and I will check in to see if anyone else has any comments to make, anything that was striking to them as well, or something they're pondering over. Feel free to do that. Muhammad Said, go ahead, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for nice kind of background and good, nice comments. My mind is not clear where to reach with my comment, but I just wanted to share a couple of things that are reflected in my world. The position of the human being is reminded through the text, having the reality. What is the position of the human being? Is that having this reality that the future is unknown. This reality is definitely without having any guidance, unknown, and having connection with the past. But since I don't know what is the future, I don't know what to do with the connections. Love, memories, loving life, loving my own being functional in this world. It's if the future is not clear, then all that is related to moment of my life becomes also not clear. So it is important for human being. It's a need for me, for human being to be informed what to do with this reality. What does it imply? Especially related to my question about my future here. What this existence, what this finite world means in front of the fact, the reality that I want something better always. I would like to have an endless happiness. And through the message provided by the Qur'an, and as the author is laying out his understanding here, I think through the message, this existence, this reality, as it is, becomes a proof, and also good message, a good news that I am always invited to something better, not worse. This situation, this reality of human being becomes a news for him, that because the owner, the giver is endless, that's why I am made to ask for endless happiness. I don't know, this is something very new in my world. That's why I got excited too. It means I am here to ask for a better. It's not a defect. It's not something to be shy from, because my creator, the creator of the universe, the source of the existence of this universe, uh, is showing me through this universe, through uh, the the way that this enormous work is being done very out of nowhere. It's very, very easily the change takes place. Everything is being taken care of, every details, and accordingly they are all put in the service of me. My needs are being taken care of through this activity. It means my needs are known, my needs are paid attention to, and they are taken seriously by the source of the existence of this universe and by the one who willed me to be here. So the Quran is opening this door for human heart to be happy endlessly, although not although, by the means of this finite world, having this assurance that um, the one who is changing cannot make something worse than, doesn't make anything, it doesn't fit into the um, into an absolute being, that something is going to change, being is going to be changed towards something worse than what it was. This is not expected, and as as the universe uh, implies, as the universe shows, uh, and I think the Quran is using this as a base for me to tell me that, you see, your life is for the better one, because that's why you are asking for a better one. That's why you don't want to find yourself in two obstacles like the future and the past, and just the moment passes and you are not happy with it at all. You are put in that situation because to see that uh, only the one who is making the universe can be the source of provision of endless happiness. This came to my world after reading a part of the text I heard uh, from you. It was mentioning like better place or renewed place. At this moment, I don't know where it was, but later in the text, the author mentioned. So just want to share these points. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. MashaAllah, beautiful reflections. It makes me realize that if I see one beam of light, then that's it. That's just good news. That's what we're looking for. Because if you just see a beam of light, then you know that there must be an eternal source of light. And so that puts the human spirit at ease, more optimistic or positive. So that's, part of guidance, takes you in on this journey. Otherwise, without any guidance, without seeing a beam of light or even knowing about it and then experiencing it without it, then yeah, it's this universe is just pain and torture. But I thank you for highlighting this absolute eternal one, because I think that's what the human spirit is seeking at the end of the day. With this transient experiences, we just want everything to be eternal, as in, like you said, we need an assurance within our heart or the human side. The spirit yearns for an eternal lover, an eternal beloved. Otherwise, human spirit cannot get satisfied with temporary love, temporary pleasure here and there. It just passes by. It's just like, yeah, it's It doesn't bring any value to my human side. Yes, we have to experience that, like we have to interact with the universe, but use it as a jumping board to catch the beam of light, and which should make us realize the eternal source of light. I mean, the nature of this universe is such that it does give us glimpses of it, but I shouldn't get deluded by just what I experience on a transient basis, or just attributing my experiences to the universe. But I'm looking for progress, for something eternal and enduring. Yeah, that was great. And what you said also reminded me of you said that whoever is creating me, whoever has brought me here, knows exactly my needs, and everything is just provided for us. Yeah, I think I was, what came to my mind was, the school analogy we always use. Let's say a student walking into a classroom, it's a science class, and then nobody's there, no teacher, nothing. Then similarly, this universe, we're like, okay, I see all these tools, graphic calculator, rulers, pen. Okay, this is all great, but what is it? What do I do with that? And so, there must be a teacher there who would, provide directions in terms of what you need to do. There must be a curriculum. Otherwise, just like random empty classrooms don't make sense. And so the same thing when a student is in the school, they know that after 4 years, they'll graduate. Otherwise, the whole school experience become purposeless. You're just sitting, empty spaces, and, and the things are there, stuff is there, but you don't know what to do with it. So, yeah, I think this was also a great highlight, that whoever is putting me in this kind of situation must know my needs and should definitely provide it. And now I see that, wait, something on the chat. Taya, you're saying, can you believe there is a hereafter without certainty in the specifics that will occur in the hereafter? Can you believe that something will happen and that it exists, but not sure what it is? Okay, so these are interesting questions. We can definitely address them. And I also see that Ali Murmur has his hand up, so we can maybe look into it afterwards, or maybe Ali Murmur has to say something on that. Go ahead, Brother Ali.
No, if you want to discuss the matter Taya, our friend Taya brought up, which is important, go ahead, please, because I have already spoken a long discourse, so I can wait if there's time afterwards.
Taya, go ahead, please, if you want to elaborate on your queries.
Hi. Yeah, it's just that specific question only because I remember a discussion about the hereafter, about basically that Allah is he comes to us and is able to or talks to us. What we're able to understand of Allah is based on our own our capacity to understand, right? So he comes to us and may tell us something like, the fire will occur, but it may not necessarily be fire. It's just something that we have the capacity to understand what fire is. We understand that that's something painful and torturous that we wouldn't, not necessarily we wouldn't like at all. But it doesn't mean that specifically that will happen. But are you supposed to believe that that is exactly what's going to happen? Or you get what I'm saying? It's just me just wondering, do I have to be sure? Like, do I have to be sure that when they talk about, rivers under the gardens and all the things that they say, do I have to be certain that that is exactly what I'm going to see, or can I wonder, you know, if there is something different? And does that negate me from believing in the hereafter by just, you know, having questions about, you know, what else it could be?
Thank you, Taya, for your question and concern. You know, yeah, this is a very good question. And, you know, basically pretty much how the author presents us the case. And I think even the Quranic guidance, it pushes us to reflect on things here and now. So what is it that I'm experiencing right now? And like you mentioned about, you know, everything that's mentioned, rivers, fire, I mean, these are like metaphorical way of how we experience things. So definitely if we do things that are pleasurable, we feel pleased within ourselves. So let's say if I help my neighbor who is sick, and then that pleasure comes, you know, that's how automatically, you know, I feel pleased. And so similarly, if I do harm, let's say just kill a cat out there, and then obviously that's, I won't feel at ease. So the fire will be felt within. So, but these are just our transient experiences, what we experience here and now. But then if we go back and listen to our human side, which want like the feeling of pleasure to always be with us. I mean, we don't want to lose it. We don't want it on a temporary basis. You know, and then we see that, okay, and then we see the nature of how everything is decaying, you know, comes into existence, goes away. We can't even catch any moment. And so we, you know, when we conclude that the one that has brought me into existence, the one that is setting up the stage for me here, must be the one that will provide me that which I seek in eternal form. I don't know how that is like, but what I can experience is like what I'm feeling right now. The moment I have with me, and you know, the feelings that I'm experiencing, either it can be feeling of agitation, agony, anxiety, or it can be a feeling of love, happiness. But it's just like wind, you know, it comes and goes away, but I do get like a little taste of it, which I desire in eternal form. So it gives me a glimpse of a beam of light, and I know, okay, if I experience it, that there must be something in eternal form. And as far as certainty is concerned, yeah, I guess we all have to listen into our human side. The heart is where, you know, everything.
Confirmation happens.
Yeah, confirmation happens. Exactly. I was going to say everything happens within the heart. The confirmation definitely happens within the heart. And, but then everything else is being utilized. My interactions are being utilized. All my senses, tools, intellect, mind, everything is being utilized. And the free will, you know, it's just, we are so complex beings, but at the end of the day, yeah, I have to be the human spirit or the heart. I have to be convinced and satisfied that there must be an eternal source of existence where I'm going to experience this, everything that I experience here on a temporary basis in eternal form. And I'm not sure if that helps out a little bit, but let's see what Ali Murmur has to add, inshallah.
Yeah, thank you. Exactly. I will just continue where you left off. The text says, here it is, if I find it. If you, that is interesting phrase, very challenging. This highlighted sentence. If you don't believe me, experiment a bit so that you can see it is true. That is telling a lot, actually. The matters of belief, especially the ticket, helps us to travel 1 year's journey in 1 day. It means solves all the problems quickly. So if you don't believe in me, experiment a bit. It means the methods of belief must be experienced. It means in this world, put yourself in two positions. One is, yes, I am just just a natural being. So I happen to be like this, as I will be like this, and disappear from this world. And as a human being, experiment it. Try to compare this understanding within your own human side, within yourself, with the idea, with another option that says or offers us, you have a creator, you have a purpose in your life, and definitely your existence is not confined to this world alone. You are created for a long journey of existence, long journey of life. Think about the beginning of your existence in the womb of your mother, and not what is happening in the womb of your mother biologically, only the physical side of your body. How about something is also developing within this body? What is that? So that when you come into this world, which means when you brought into this world and given you a good shape, prepared everything for the requirements of this world, although you don't need your present life in the womb when you were a fetus. But there are some things physically also prepared in the womb of your mother while you were in the womb, so that you don't need that. They are dysfunctioning, they are dysfunctioned there in the womb. But as soon as you are taken out of the womb, you find that all these unnecessary, extra, meaningless parts of your body are, you found out that they are so essential for your new life in the world. That's what we have experiencing it. You know that it happened to you. You know that it's happening to everyone. Now, while you are in this world, you know, you also have some sort of feelings, human needs cannot be fit into this world. They seem to be unnecessary, superfluous, extra to our existence, which are human feelings, human expectations that you have in everybody who talk here today mentioned and emphasized on the importance of these feelings. They are not good for anything in this world. We cannot do anything with them. I cannot get the full satisfaction while I am here. So give this option, think about it, and say, okay, I have a creator who provided me, that's another option. And let me think about my reality within these terms now. And he said, then I need an eternal happiness. Experiment it a bit, as the author suggests us. So then you will understand the difference in between the two. So great, as if the difference between a fetus in the womb of the mother and the extra physical things, physical organs or members of the body, which are no use in the womb. You understand that you are prepared for another creation. Now we also understand in this world that we are prepared for another creation. So don't deny it. See how it affects your human side. Now you are conscious of it. As you were a fetus, you were not. I wasn't conscious of my extra limbs provided for me in my mother's womb. But I am conscious of the feelings now. Experiment it. It means belief is something to do with experience. Not only believing that I believe in God, yeah, but you have to say, what is the option? I don't believe in God. There is no God. There is no creator. There is no purpose. There is no conscious agent behind my existence. Compare it as a human being. Don't say that, oh, I am a believer. I cannot think of as in the form of a comparison. I cannot think of the other way, other side. No, you can. You can, for example, think about yourself that I am not going to be resurrected and there is no eternal life. There is no eternal life. There is no other existence that what all the tools, equipments given to me, which are given to me, they are not functioning here. So you say, okay, I am not for this word, there is another word. Experience yourself within yourself, you will understand that this option perfectly fits our human nature. Perfectly fits our human nature. That's why we have to not only ideologically and intellectually talk about belief matters, but also experimentally. We have to talk about belief matter, and in our practical life, we have to experience them as well. Ask ourselves, which one is more appropriate to our human nature? Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Ali. That helps a lot. And I feel that, yeah, this, the belief matters. I think that's the reason to be given existence is really to practice this. That's it, I think. All right, we'll see if there's anyone who wants to just make a last comment or something. Feel free to do so. Otherwise, we are at time. It's 1:05 Eastern Standard Time. So if nobody has any comment to make or a question, then inshallah we can conclude here for today. And the moderator next week can pick up from the next word, the 8th word, inshallah. Thank you all for joining in. And Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save except that which you've taught us. Indeed, you are all knowledgeable, all wise. Wa akhiru dawahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Bi hurmati sirra surat al-Fatiha. Ameen.